just as the lawyers have been intimidated. And that is a sad, sad state of affairs. And I so much appreciate, Senator, that you're holding these hearings, because otherwise, as we're finding out all over the country, these items just disappear. Number two, I wanted to say, as I've said throughout my testimony, that one of the reasons people are doubting the election is because the other side here, the Biden campaign's primary defense is don't hear the evidence. Don't let them litigate. Don't have a court rule on the substance. Let's be honest, that's what's going on. And so that's why the public doesn't trust this outcome. It's not about the president. It's about what the other side is doing to intimidate and force people not to listen, not to take the evidence. I've heard lots of fancy words here today, but if you give transparency, if you let the issues come out, and I've represented Republicans and I've represented Democrats, and at the end of the day, lawyers do their job when it is in the open and we're able to present the evidence. And I so appreciate the fact that you, a non-lawyer, is taking on this task here. But finally, I have to say this. We had 4,000 people volunteer from everywhere in the country to come to Wisconsin to participate in the process. We had over 2,500 volunteers over a 10-day period take their own time, their own money, come from all over the country. And they came and they attended the recount and they participated. And I said to the recount on the floor, the Democrats and the Republicans, I said, if you are losing your faith in the greatness of this republic, look at this recount. Look at the number of people from the Trump campaign and from the Biden campaign that would give of their time and effort to be here, in that case in Madison, Wisconsin. It was humbling, truly humbling for me and everyone on our legal team and everyone who was there. We have a great system and people want to participate. Let's make it transparent. And again, I can't thank those volunteers enough. They're the ones who make this democracy work.
Thank you, Mr. Troupis. And I noticed Mr. Banal shaking his head when you were talking about the fact that lawyers from large law firms were more than discouraged. They were actually prevented from representing the president, which is kind of a sad state of affairs. I'll also say, storefronts in big cities didn't board up their windows in anticipation of a Vice President Biden victory. Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I will make a few comments. The EAC is looking at holding a series of hearings and to issue a report on some nonpartisan recommendations. There's going to be a lot of policy disputes around the country in state legislatures, and, that could be debated back and forth about what's the best policies in certain areas. But we as the election administration community want to do better. We understand that oftentimes there are flaws in the way we administer elections. It happens in every election. We could always do better. The way we respond in the election administration community, just like the military, is more education and more training and more resources when available. And that is really the recipe, I believe, moving forward, is if you want to improve the performance of election officials and their election workers within an office and our poll workers, it will take a commitment of time, resources, and training to do so. And the EAC is prepared to do that free to localities with appropriate funding. I think that is really my solution, thinking back to my military days. Whenever there was an issue, more education, more funding, more training.
Thank you, Commissioner Palmer. Judge Starr, you are lead-off hitter. Now you're batting cleanup here, so thank you for hanging in there. You have some closing comments.
I think the bottom of the order, Mr. Chairman, but thank you for your leadership. In a real sense, today's hearing has been a tribute to the Constitution. I love Senator Carper's comments about December 7th, 1787, and the idea to form a more perfect union, and this hearing has been in that spirit. I'm also reminded of one of President Lyndon Johnson's favorite quotes from the prophet Isaiah, "Come, let us reason together." And I think this has been a time of reasoning together and listening and the great traditions of the United States Senate. So let me close with words that I heard with my own ears from United States Senator Alan Simpson, now the tender age of 89 in retirement. And when he was addressing in his valedictory at the Kennedy Institute of Politics, which he headed for 2 years, he told the audience, and it was in very hushed tones, because whatever your politics were, Alan Simpson was a great man and recognized to be that. And he closed with these words: "In politics, if you don't have integrity, you don't have anything." And what this hearing is trying to do is to how can we, in fact, promote not just confidence in government, but how can we, in fact, promote the integrity and honesty which is at the bedrock of the kind of government in whom we can trust. So thank you for the honor of appearing before the committee.
Well, thank you, Judge Starr, for your participation, for your service to this country. I do want to make a comment. We spoke to, and we're very appreciative of the fact that the Dominion Systems, Edison Research, AP, a number of people we spoke to prior to this hearing. Now, they didn't all participate, but we will leave the record open, and I encourage everybody we spoke to and people who we didn't, if you want to input information into this record, you've got a couple weeks to do it, and I encourage it. And our staff will look at that, and we will vet it. We'll call you. We'll ask questions. This hearing is not dangerous. What would be dangerous is not discussing this openly and frankly with transparency. This is a problem that we have to acknowledge and recognize and solve together. And we're only going to do that with information. So I'm soliciting information. Okay, this is only part of the process. There was oversight before this hearing. There needs to be oversight after this in the next Congress. Hopefully I can work with Senator Carper, who I think we all recognize has done a pretty good job of outreach here and some pretty bipartisan words here. So I'm hoping that's how we can move forward. Because I truly think as Americans we share the same goal. We all want a safe, prosperous, secure country, state, community. That's what we want. We want to be able to raise our children in safety and freedom. And the way it works in this country is through participation in the democratic process. So I think everybody in this panel wants to make sure that we have good participation. We encourage citizens to participate. We also want every legitimate vote to count. But we should be every bit in favor of making sure that every vote is legitimate. And that's what this is all about. If we can put the controls in place and actually act on them, it's great having paper ballots, but you have to have access to look at it to give yourself confidence in the current election and moving forward that, okay, this all worked out. Wisconsin's recount, totally honest, our count was almost 100% accurate. Other issues, but again, I think Wisconsin, we got a pretty good level of confidence when we run our elections right now. I'll just give another shout out to Jeanette Mertens. My county clerk, my clerk of courts down of Oshkosh, and I'm sure the vast majority are just like Jeanette. We're in really good hands. So to conclude, this is my last hearing. It has been an honor and privilege to chair this committee.